What is up, everybody? I'm Vish Kumaran, and it's the Vish Kumaran Show. This is episode lucky number 13. And I kind of been streaming a little impromptu today. There's a big topic going around 49ers Twitter, and I'd like to give my take on it real briefly. And so let's get into it. So, a little bit of background, right? Everybody's favorite YouTuber, the great Jesse Naylor of Last Second Sports. He discovered a really cool thing that's been discovered by a few other people before, but he brought it to the limelight to everybody. Did a real nice video on it, and it was that 49ers left tackle, Trent Williams is tipping plays, right? So he's in a staggered stance that looks like a pass protection stance when the Niners are passing. And then when they're rushing, his feet are even flat footed, looks like he's getting ready to run block. And this was a big topic of conversation because a lot of people thought he was tipping plays, right? What is this causing opponents to do? Week one, a Bears rookie mentioned it, saying that he knew they were tipping plays and whatever. There's been a lot of people chime in. I saw Jeff Schwartz chimed in today, talking about how, he thought it's not that big of a deal. David Lombardi said he spoke to Trent Williams about it, and Trent Williams said he's been doing it his entire career. And so I wanted to give my take on it, right? I don't think this is a deal at all. I think, and I have something very cool tomorrow. I think that's going to explain and help explain why I think this way about it. But I think there's tells that every team gives and every team has, right? It's just this one is a little amplified. But Patrick Peterson today was talking about how, and what he was talking about was way worse, right? He was talking about how if he knew that, the Bills lined up in a cut, if the Bills lined up in a cut split, then he knew number two was running an in route. He was talking about all these kinds of things, and that's what led him to intercept passes. Why does he know those things? It's because NFL players study the game, right? If you watch a lot of this and you watch enough of it, you kind of see tendencies, right? For example, if I watch the Cincinnati Bengals and I know that they're lined up in a 3-by-1 formation, which means three receivers to one side, one receiver to the other side, and Jamar Chase is this isolated receiver on the backside, if you try and play man coverage against them, Joe Burrow is throwing a go route to Jamar Chase 100 times out of 100. I know that, so you could imagine every team knows that, and yet people still do that, and they can't stop it. Why? Because just because you know something is coming, you can't stop Jamar Chase. How are you going to do it? And I use that as an analogy to say the same thing with this, right? Like you can see Trent Williams' leg there, and sure, you might think it's a run, you might think it's a pass, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you know it's a run, you're going to get 11 guys to execute exactly what they're doing and do exactly as they're supposed to do, react to whatever motion shift Shanahan has, which, exchanges the rules slightly and be able to do their responsibility essentially good enough to ensure you get a stop. There's no guarantee about that. The game is more about execution than it is, doing something schematically creative. I think a lot of people think that, each game, like these teams are coming up with something brand new. A lot of times these teams know exactly what's coming at them. They know exactly what concepts other teams are going to run. They know exactly how other teams are going to attack them. There's certain advantages that you can have, and there's certain ways you can manipulate what's happening to create specific matchups to make your guy better than the other guy. But at the end of the day, it comes down to execution and players beating players. And I think that's really the most important thing. Like, whether Trent Williams tips these plays or not, that's the point to me. It doesn't make that much of a difference in the results, right? The results is going to come down to who executes better. And so, while I think it was a quality find, and I think it's a very interesting topic, and I think it's worth having a discussion, and I think it's great that a lot of people were engaged by it, I personally don't think that it really matters in the grand scheme of things, because to me, football is more about, how you manipulate matchups to get your best guys against, in advantageous positions. It's not, you don't know what this team is going to do. You don't know what this team is going to do. Everybody knows what everybody's going to run. And that, is something that is like, if, for example, when the Niners play the Rams, they've played each other so many times. Do you not think that, the Niners know the tendencies where if, We line up in 21 personnel in a condensed formation in the low red zone, like the 8-yard line. Do you not think they know what front the Rams are going to match it with and what coverage they're going to play? It's in every game. Like, they study this so much, and if you watch enough of it on a Sunday or Monday, like, I can sometimes, I won't say I'm very good at it, but occasionally I can look at the 49ers and be like, well, they're in this formation. They usually run this in this situation. And sometimes, not sometimes, very rarely, occasionally, I can make a guess on what they're doing. Now, if you think I could do that maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 times, you can imagine that, the best players and coaches can probably do that 18 or 15 out of 20 times, something like that. But just because it's coming doesn't mean that, you're going to stop it. You're going to have the right look to stop it and all of that. You might have a vague idea that, okay, they're going to be running the ball, but how are you going to stop that run? How is all these things going to affect you? So I think it's a very quality conversation. That's why I, dropped what I was doing, came on here to stream and talk about it. But I don't think it really matters if you know whether it's a run or pass. And I thought Andrew Whitworth summed it up perfectly. He had a tweet responding to Jeff Schwartz's thread, which, by the way, you should check out. It's quality content from a guy, obviously, who played in the NFL and is a very good analyst. But Jeff Schwartz, Andrew Whitworth basically said he's been doing this forever in regards to Trent Williams, and it doesn't matter. And so those are my thoughts on Trent Williams. I do have one more topic here today, but before that, I want to get to this comment from the coach. What up, the coach? I haven't seen you in a minute around these parts. It's been a long time, but he was very kind enough to donate. And he says, okay, on to the quote unquote tipping technique. To the play matters. When you're tasked to make the blocks Trent is assigned to with his stance to achieve those blocks varies. Finding a consistency on run and pass is the tip of the iceberg. Minor. Exactly. He sums it up perfectly. It's more about putting yourself in an advantageous position to be able to execute your block. Because like I mentioned in the first 5 minutes of this, I know I was going on and on and on in a very monotone way, but I did keep saying one thing, right? It's about execution. That's what football really comes down to. We see, with the 49ers, we talk about it week to week to week. When they lose, we say it's a lack of execution. When they win, we say it's because they executed. That's what Shanahan says, right? His phrase is do right better. Do right better means execute better than the other team. What he's basically saying is whoever execute better wins. Appreciate the donation, though, to the coach. So now let's get on to the second topic I have for this show. And it's something that I saw on Twitter today, and I think it's a very interesting topic. Now, to me, this has a little bit of background, so I'm going to give you the topic first, and then I'm going to give you the background. The topic is the issue with the 49ers offense. And I think I kind of figured it out in my head what the issue is. I'm going to try and voice it. Someone on Twitter voiced what was in my head even better than I can. And so I'm going to give reference to them so you get a better idea. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of a larger explanation on it. But basically on Monday, when I was watching back this game and I was trying to, try and see why the Niners offense wasn't scoring. And there were a lot of examples, right? The execution, Shanahan went up and down the issues, but it doesn't explain the entire conversation of, there's like 6 different all-pro players on this offense between Kittle, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Trent Williams, Debo. Sorry, 5. 5 different all-pro players on this offense. And it seems so deliberate. The offense feels so deliberate. And it feels like every time, like there's no explosive element to the offense. Everything is just, throw it 5 yards, execute up the field. It's 14-play drives. It's, if the Niners have to move the ball, it has to be a slow march. There's no chunk play. There's, it just feels deliberate to watch the Niners offense. Nothing feels easy, I feel like. And when I say nothing feels easy, I feel like it's a little slight over-exaggeration now that I rewind a little bit. But, the point is it doesn't feel maybe as smooth as it should feel, given the talent they have. I think that's the best way to say it. And what I think, so when I was looking at this and I was thinking about it, I was thinking maybe are the 49ers skill position players overrated? Do we not think, are they not as good as we thought they were? Is Shanahan maybe not as good as we thought he was? What is going on? And I don't think it's either of those things actually. I think Shanahan is every bit as good as we thought he was, and I think the skill players are as good as we thought they were. But it's kind of a skill set issue to me within the skill players. I think there's something missing right now from this Niners offense. And a guy who's very, very smart, much smarter than me on Twitter, named Jay Moyer, uh, he tweeted exactly what was in my head and kind of summed it up for me, right? I retweeted it on Twitter. You can follow me at Vish Kumaran if you want to go check it out. But he said in so many words, he said Kyle Shanahan went on record 1 to 2 years ago saying they devalued route running and placed a premium on yak. Now, that is true. Shanahan has been one of the early proponents of I can scheme guys open. Give me the guys who are special with the ball in their hands because I can't teach that. But, I can use condensed splits and, a bunch and a lot of bunches and a lot of different things like that to create space and give you opportunities to run routes into favorable positions. Okay. So that part of it is absolutely true. He mentioned it, right? And he said, that's fine. Now they have all these great weapons, not a single receiver who demands extra coverage down the field. Much harder to play offense in the NFL without that alpha. I think that really sums up what's the issue with the Niners offense right now. They don't have that one guy where you line him up on the outside and it's like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or Tyreek. Or I would say Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill are the best examples of this in the NFL. And you're just scared every play that they're going to beat you vertically. And that, changes how you play coverage, right? They have a lot of really good players. Brandon Ayuk is a terrific player. He gets open against man coverage and all of that. But you don't see teams lining up like they're scared of Brandon Ayuk the way they play cloud coverage over Jamar Chase all the time. You see the way teams cover Tyreek Hill, they're scared of him. You see the way teams cover Cooper Kupp, you know, uh, and to an extent they did. This was their last year in a totally different way with Debo, where teams lined up in a way that they were scared of Debo, and I think it's existed in the past with Kittle. But right now, it doesn't feel like teams feel scared of Debo or Kittle. And I don't know if Ayuk is that player yet, though he has played exceptionally well of recent. Christian McCaffrey, again, was a player who was that of very recent, but it doesn't feel like he is being defended that way at the moment. Of course, there is an element of what I always think is the issue with the Niners offense. It's that Shanahan just calls the offense like he's scarred by Garoppolo. Like Garoppolo's previous mistakes in high leverage moments make Shanahan tighten up and too rigid, and he calls the game like he just doesn't want Garoppolo to make mistakes and lose it for him. I think that's always a part of the issue. I think it's always part of the element in terms of how they call the game and how they play, but it's also like Garoppolo has played pretty well so far this year. He's played as clean as he's ever played. So I think there's a lot of all of that to it. And then of course it's an indictment of Jimmy as well, right? He's not the greatest deep ball thrower, but I don't know necessarily. I mean, Tua's showing us in Miami that you can look at what speed does with Waddle and Hill. I mean, Tua's a good deep ball throw. He's okay. He's very accurate though, right? But Garoppolo is also an accurate quarterback. And Tua plays maybe with much better timing and anticipation than Garoppolo. I'll give him that for sure. But saying all of that, they're still able to throw the ball down the field so well. It's because teams fear Waddle and Hill. Waddle and Hill's speed is different. Ayuk and Debo don't move like Waddle and Hill. When's the last time you saw Brandon Ayuk go, 60 for a touchdown? We saw Debo Samuel do that a lot last year, and that's why this offense felt a lot more explosive last year because, tunnel screen to Debo was a free explosive play every play last year. It doesn't seem to feel that way right now. And I think that the biggest solution I can think of for the Niners offense is that they just need Debo Samuel to be an automatic explosive play again. And I thought he looked very good actually against who they played most recently. I just blanked on whoever they played the Chargers on Sunday night. I thought he played he looked much better. He looked a lot better than he did. Of course, he didn't play well against Carolina, and then he looked injured to me against Atlanta and Kansas City. Then he took the game off because he was injured. I thought then he played very well. in the limited time he played, I thought he looked good against the Chargers. So I think it's positive signs for Debo to come, but I think that's what I would say is the biggest issue with the Niners offense. So that's all I have planned for you guys. I promised I would stick around for like 30 minutes to take some questions. My man Jay Cruz 49ers says, "Love the show, homeboy. Really appreciate it. Smash that like, peeps. Hell yeah, peeps. Come on, smash that like. Would really appreciate it. Goes a long way. But I'd love to take a few of your questions right now." Heartless Shao says, "Alex Rollins made a video about this 10 months ago, and why is it only getting attention now?" I don't know. I saw that he made a video, whatever. I guess Jesse is just way better at bringing things to attention than other people. I don't know. It's a very interesting topic of conversation. I think it's worth a conversation. At the end of the day, I just don't believe that there's much to the conversation, but doesn't mean it's not worth having. Um, yeah, Jason Ells says, "Oh crap, late." So this stream was actually courtesy of Jason Ells. If you want to thank anybody, you should thank him. He asked me to talk about the Trent Williams thing. I asked him if I should stream about it, and he said go for it. So yes, that is why we are all here today. Thank you, Jason Ells. But if anyone wants to just throw a question in the chat, any thoughts you got, any conversation you have, I'd love to just interact back and forth. It's my favorite part of these streams, honestly, because you guys have the most interesting things to say, in my opinion, about the 49ers. And I love having conversations about the 49ers. Who doesn't? They're our favorite football team. I just hope, I could use a few more victories. I'll tell you that. My life is a lot better when they win on Sunday, because Monday is a lot better. Tuesday's a lot better. Raphael 562 Niners says, "Who gets the game ball?" I assume he's talking about the Chargers game, and to me, is this even a question? It's a no-brainer. I talked about it in my post game stream. Nick Bosa. Is there any even question about that? He had 4 quarterback hits. He dominated every game. He's the best player on the field. There's no doubt. Every game. I mean, it's like who should get the game ball after Nick Bosa? Tyler DeHoff says, "Don't get why a right tackle rotation is considered like it is for right guard." So Niners fans really just don't like Mike McGlinchey, huh? Like every time I come on here, it's Mike McGlinchey this, Mike McGlinchey that. I hate Mike McGlinchey. A lot of players have their ups and downs in every game. I would certainly say Mike McGlinchey maybe has some unforgivable downs during games, but right now I think he's the best option for them at right tackle. And I think there's a good chance they re-sign him. So I think we should all just get used to him playing right tackle for the 49ers. Jay Cruz 49ers says, "Trent tipping plays will definitely not have an impact on what he does, but the guys around him line up Khalil Mack against Mike McGlinchey and he knows we're passing. Not a good thing." Yeah, but Khalil Mack can't see that, right? When he's in his 4-point stance, how is he going to see over the line to see the position of Trent Williams' leg? Really, the only people that are seeing Trent Williams' leg is the corner to that side, the nickel, the overhang player, whatever linebacker is kind of over him, and then one of the safeties, right? Think about being field level and looking across and trying to see where his back leg is. Khalil Mack isn't going to see that if he's lined up. Are you telling me the corner is going to then signal to the Mike linebacker, who's then going to signal to Khalil Mack before every play, run, pass? Pizza Party says, "What did you think about the Dre Greenlaw ejection? I feel like it's a dilemma with QB protection and being fair to defense." Nah, it's not a dilemma. It was just bullshit. It was a horrible call. It was a horrible ejection. It shouldn't even have been a penalty. It was one of those things where the NFL, knew that if Justin Herbert leaves this game, It's a horrible look for Sunday Night Football. The Chargers are on Sunday Night Football next week too. Let's make a business decision and save Justin Herbert. Just because Justin Herbert got hit, we got to throw a penalty. It's BS. It's what the NFL has become, to be honest to me. If there's a hard collision, it's immediately a penalty. When's the last time you saw a good hard clean like someone just gets thumped? I remember like 10 years ago when I was watching football, Cam Chancellor was doing that 3 times a game. The game's still great. It's just changed that way. Friend of the show, Jamal Armstrong. You know where to catch him. Niner Nate's nonsense, I think every Tuesday, which is today, by the way. I wonder when they're going on with Kevin, Nate, and Jamal. He says the clunkiness, try hardness of our offense was apparent in the first half versus the Chargers. Their depleted offense looked and moved more smoothly than ours with all pro level skill position players. Yeah, absolutely. Now, having an alien quarterback doing what Justin Herbert was doing in the first half definitely helps. But the one thing we saw from the Chargers that was maybe something we're not accustomed to seeing from them in that first half is they were pushing the ball down the field. They were looking to take chances. They were throwing a lot of passes, 15, 20 yards intermediate over the middle of the field. We didn't see those. We rarely see those kinds of things from the 49ers offense. Coach D asks a great question. Why do you think Sue is not on any team right now? He's not a great run defender anymore, but he can still rush the passer. The Niners could use that. Yeah, I could see that. I've seen Sue tweet about, not wanting to play for the right price. I do know that a few of these veterans, they don't see the point of playing for the veteran minimum. They already make a lot of money. They still have to put in the same work and start, it's just that now that they're old, they make, so little on the veteran minimum. The CBA for the NFL is really hard on the players. At some point, they got to stop losing in these collective bargaining agreements because the owners smoke them every year. They just make it worse, worse, and worse. What do you think the bigger reason for us not throwing deep recently is? Drops, offensive line, Jimmy, Shanahan. It's a mixture of everything, right? The drops certainly don't help. You do need your offensive line to pass protect to push the ball down the field. Though I do think, if you're scheming, you can max protect on play action and run a 2-man route and take a shot. We have seen them do that at times this year. They put Danny Gray in the game to do that. Jimmy, you can say, but we've seen Jimmy when he has pushed the envelope this year. He's not done a bad job, actually. There's been a few throws you would like to have back, but there's been also a lot of good throws. And then Shanahan, I would definitely say that he calls the game in a very conservative way, like he's scarred by Jimmy Garoppolo. I was talking to Javi Vega. Everybody knows him, famous personality on Twitter. We were talking on Monday, and I think the best description I can have for this offense between Shanahan and Jimmy is this. I think this offense with these skill players, the same offensive line, same exact personnel with Shanahan and a different quarterback, same exact skill set of Jimmy Garoppolo, but his name is not Jimmy Garoppolo and he doesn't have the pass that Jimmy Garoppolo has with Shanahan, could be a top 5 offense. And then I think the same way, this offense with Jimmy Garoppolo, same exact offensive line, same exact skill weapons, a coach named with the same exact play calling, capabilities as Kyle Shanahan, but just, someone different, would also have a top 5 offense with these weapons. I think both of those things are true. I do think it's an element of what I talked about before, but I do think also Shanahan always calls the game like he's scarred by the mistakes Garoppolo has made that have hurt him in the past. I think it makes him try to micromanage every little thing so that Garoppolo won't ruin it for him. I feel like there's still something there. It doesn't feel all the way loose in how he calls the game. Mike McGlinchey isn't playing bad according to the coach. It's confirmation bias. I don't know if I would describe it as playing bad. I definitely wouldn't describe it as playing good either, though. Over under 43.5 for next week. That's a tough one. I think I would take the over there, but I'm horrible at over unders, so don't take that to the bank, Teal. Patrick Garcia asked, "Do I think Christian McCaffrey is still learning the system? So is it safe to say Christian McCaffrey or Mitchell is a better running back than Christian McCaffrey? What's your thoughts on this?" So my first question is, or before I get to my question, let's start off with the first part. Yeah, I would say it's fair to say he's still learning the system. He's new to this football team. It takes time. It gives, he needs reps, he needs opportunities, he needs to get comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a lot of moving parts to this run game, but the one thing I do know, and this is actually accessible to everybody. There's Alex Gibbs' famous wide zone clinic. It's available on YouTube. I highly recommend everybody should watch it, right? Alex Gibbs was the most, along with Mike Shanahan, he was Mike Shanahan's offensive line coach, the famous name behind the wide zone, right? And so it's a great clinic, but I share it to say you should see how precise the Niners run game is. Now, they have gotten away from being a wide zone run game. I don't think they would even run wide zone 50% of the time. I keep saying I need to look at the splits for it. I keep forgetting to look at the splits. It's just my guess by watching them, but I don't think it would be 50% of the time. But the point is that clinic establishes how detailed the run game is, from the footwork of every offensive lineman to the running back to how many steps to how you read it out. It's very detailed. So it's definitely fair to say Christian McCaffrey is still learning the system. To say Mitchell is a better running back, and this is why do we have to react to every little thing, right? Why do we have to react to every little moment, right? And Patrick, I don't mean to say this to you. I just mean to say this in general. Mitchell just had a really good football game. He was fresh. He ran hard. He got favorable looks to run into. It was just blocked right for him. He just had a really good game, and they rode him. He was the hot hand. McCaffrey was fine in this game. Not particularly special, but not bad. But he's also coming off a game, the previous game, where he was doing some historic things, scoring 3 touchdowns, one receiving, one rushing, and one passing. We don't need to say Mitchell is better. Mitchell is a good player. He runs hard. We know he wears, but he runs so hard, so tough, and he's fast, and he's so physical, and he takes care of the football. But McCaffrey is still a special player. He does everything well. He pass blocks well. He runs great routes. He's got great hands. He's a great receiver. He's a terrific runner still as well. There will be a game, probably next game, where maybe Mitchell has a couple of struggles running the ball and McCaffrey runs it a little bit better. It's just how it goes. I mean, Raheem Mostert was the best running back on the 49ers the second half of the season in 2019. The first half of the season, it was Matt Breida. But all of that in the NFC divisional round against the Vikings, it was Tevin Coleman who had a 26 carry, 104-yard touchdown rushing game. So it kind of just varies game to game based on who's getting what looks and just how things play out with the runs. I don't think it's really about better, but if you're asking who is the better player, yeah, Christian McCaffrey is just a better player than Elijah Mitchell. No disrespect to Elijah Mitchell. The coach says the offense is unloaded with the same type of athletes. They're all the same. What unlocks them is what Trey would bring. Jimmy G keeps them all in the same plane along with Kyle's play calling. Yeah, I agree. That was what the point I was alluding to earlier. They all have kind of a similar skill set. They all kind of do the same thing. And I think that's what leads to it's difficult to get them all the ball in the same game because they all catch the ball in the same area, right? Like Ayuk does most of his damage on isolated looky routes, isolated backside digs, a lot of through routes where he's the second guy running over on 2 crossers, some stuff like that, dagger concepts over the middle. That's how he does a lot of slants. That's how he does a lot of his damage, right? That's how he wins. Well, Debo wins a lot the same way and then does damage on screens, end arounds, jet sweeps, all of that, which Ayuk does as well. Kittle does a lot of his damage, on stick routes, seams, verticals in the seam, all of these kinds of things. It's all in the same area over the middle of the field that they all need to get the ball. And I think that's why it's hard to be able to get them all the ball in the same game because you can only really scheme one of those 3 guys open in that spot. So it's just kind of who's playing best at the time, right? In 2018, 2019, Kittle was playing the best. In 2020, 21, in 2020, they were all kind of hurt, but I guess when they all played, Debo was playing the best. Same with 21, and now in 22, it feels like they think Ayuk is playing the best. Jamal says, and By the way, I appreciate all the support, guys. A lot of you have been jumping in here, asking a lot of really great questions. There's been great conversation back and forth. The one thing I do ask is always is do smash that like button. It always helps the algorithm. It helps me do a lot better. And man, that feels good when I'm doing a little bit better on these YouTube streams. So I appreciate that. But Jamal says, although Jimmy has played well, he does have a knack for missing some easy reads that could be big games. Pass to Christian McCaffrey in the red zone, right? He's talking about the RPO, and then yeah, he does. He does. I would say he misses some basic things that, veteran quarterbacks typically don't miss. And everybody goes in the comments like, oh, every veteran quarterback is making the same mistakes. Dak threw 2 picks, blah, 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 blah. No, they're not making the same mistakes, right? Dax threw 2 picks are totally different from, Jimmy G's mistake, which was, hey, it's 4-on-3 to this side. I don't throw it to the bubble. I run power with Debo Samuel. It's a walk-in touchdown. They had it blocked up. If it's not a walk-in touchdown, he gets to maybe the 2 yard line. It's a positive game. They lost yards on that play. And I think that's where Kyle Shanahan's frustrations really stem. It's these type of mistakes. I don't think it's the mistakes where and it's the turnovers. I think it's the little things. It's the little details because he's such a detail-oriented guy. And I think that these are the little things that he maybe messes up. To his credit, like you said, he is playing well right now. He's played well pretty much in every game besides the Denver game. And by well, I mean he's given the 49ers a chance to win with his play in every game besides the Denver game, which is really all you can expect out of him, I think. Wow, there's a lot of stuff about the Mike McGlinchey. Manuel Guzman is a Mike McGlinchey hater. But my gripe has been that once his player goes by, he just watches, doesn't run and try to help his QB. Yeah, Mike McGlinchey has been the king of bad moments, right? Bad looks in terms of body language, bad looks in terms of just what he says, with the still here tweet, all of that, and then just bad vibes and looks in terms of the negative plays that he has on game day where he gets trucked by Chauncey Gardner Johnson. I understand it. I think the one thing I can say about Mike McGlinchey, observing him from afar as a fan, is he feels genuine. It doesn't feel like he's trying to do any of those things. He doesn't feel malicious in any way. He seems like a really nice guy who just tries really hard, and it gets in his head when he messes up, and then it gets in his head when people are really upset with him. I think a fresh start would do him a lot of good. He's a talented football player. He definitely has his strengths. Um, I just think that some of the criticism you can see it has definitely affected him over the years. I would say some of it is fair and warranted, and then some of it is a little borderline. Uh, I don't want to go to bullying, but some of the stuff online, man, it can be tough on some people. Now, should it affect Mike McGlinchey? I would say no. But is it possibly affecting him? I would say, yeah, he's probably a human being. And, I feel bad for him that way. It's not going to help him do any better hearing a lot of hate and frustration from other people. And I get the frustration totally. Don't worry. When I'm watching the games, I feel the same way as all of you. But I don't think it's fair. I guess to him the way it's portrayed all the time. Yeah, Itchy asked why didn't they call the penalty on the Ayuk? It's because a quarterback got hit. They saw a quarterback get hit immediately. Let's throw a flag. It's no matter what. Or the face mask on Debo. Exactly how the coach talked about it. Yeah, I think it's just more about Jimmy Garoppolo's comfortability, to be honest. Garoppolo is very comfortable in this shotgun quick game approach with the RPOs and all of that. That's what he did in college at Eastern Illinois. He played in the spread. And then New England's right, that quick shotgun passing game. They're get under center to run the football. Now, New England's always had a great play action game. But I don't think Garoppolo, judging by the moment he had see the safeties on his wristband, and with the safeties, the possessive, he didn't spell it right. He used the possessive instead of the plural of safeties. Not to make fun of him for that, just a funny thing. But I think it's little things like that. And he just isn't comfortable to me turning his back to the defense and doing the conventional play action. I think he's better suited for just being in this shotgun quick game. I think that's why they do it. Now, I think we do still see a lot of play action, but when they played this particular defense, Brandon Staley's defense, right? They played it with the Rams. They played against Raheem Morris. They played Brandon Staley. They played Joe Barry, who's in Green Bay. This defense, they seem to be, well, we'll get into shotgun and we'll throw the ball out a quick game, and then we're just going to run it from under center. I don't see them use a lot of play action ever against the Rams. I don't see them use a lot of play action against this defensive scheme. Now, I haven't been able to ascertain why that is. Is it something specific with just how the front is, or how they feel comfortable running or blocking up certain fronts when they're in play action? I'm not sure, but and again, I don't know what the actual percentages are. Right, the numbers could just slap me in the face and say, Vish, your feeling on this is absolutely wrong, and if that's the case, I'll tell you it's absolutely wrong. But just based on the eye test and what I can remember going back and watching these games as much as I have, it doesn't feel like they use a lot of play action when they play against this particular defense. The coach says this offense would be nasty with Derek Carr. Coach, I've said a lot of things about Jimmy Garoppolo over the years. I think you know where I stand on this, and I'll leave it at that. Manuel Guzman says, your prediction for the 49ers record over the final 8 games. I gave my prediction over the midseason, right? I gave it with Larry Krueger on his channel. Shout out to him. I think they'll finish 10-7. I did think they would beat the Chargers. I think the losses come. I think one is the Miami game. One is at Seattle, that being Thursday night. I still think the Niners eke out the division because I think they finished 5-1 in the division. I just don't like that matchup against Seattle at Seattle. Such a tough place to play. I know it's gross to say, but I don't have faith in that one. And then I think I said they lost to New Orleans or somebody, just a surprise in there. You know, the Niners not playing up to par and just having one of those games that, you know, we've become all too familiar with over the last couple of years. And the coach, I think, made a really good point, right? He could be playing hurt, absolutely. He's coming back from a very serious injury. Torn quad, you know, it's a different sport, but it ended Charles Barkley's career in basketball. It effectively ended Tony Parker's career. He played in Charlotte, but he was not the same player. Weston Richburg came back from it and played well, but it ultimately led him to tearing his patella. I was shocked he came back and played that well, to be honest. I was shocked he even played week 1 of that season. He was taken off PUP half a week before the season, if you guys remember. But I say all of this to say that I do think it is something that needs to be considered in all of it. James Rodriguez says, love your content. Hey, man, I appreciate it. The coach says 5 likes is trash. Come on. You guys are doing me dirty. Come on. What is this? 5 likes? Are you guys going to make me beg and grovel and do these kinds of things? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. G Code Travel Vlog Point of View says, do you do vlogs on your channel on travel? Where do you travel to? But he says Elijah runs like Kevin Barlow, swiftly runs hard. To me, he reminds me of Tevin Coleman. He runs the same way, upright, hits the hole as hard as anything, runs so tough, is very fast, explosive. I think he's maybe got a little more agility and make your miss ability than Tevin Coleman. But it's the same way, tough as hell, physical as all hell, never fumbles the football. That's who he reminds me of. Niner Gang Wolfcast. Shout out to him. He's got a great Niners show. I'm going to be going on it very soon. He says, yo, Vish, everybody says Debo's lacking. He's making something out of nothing on plays that are getting blown up. His average yards per rush are higher than both Christian McCaffrey and Mitchell at 6.8 yards per carry. Is it lack of creativity? I don't think it's necessarily lack of creativity. I just think it's Debo being in and out of the lineup with this injury. Early in the season, we saw how much they featured him. Now they're adding in Christian McCaffrey, who shares a similar skill set to him. So it's varying up, how they use their five eligibles and where he lines up on certain plays. I think, we will see Debo Samuel become a bigger part of this offense. We have to. I do wish the Niners media would ask Shanahan these questions, not in a way to condescend him, but just out of curiosity. Hey, why does it seem like George Kittle and Debo Samuel getting the ball so little? I think it's definitely a fair question for him to ask. I don't know what he would say to that, but I would love to hear him respond to that question. Is it too much to ask, Niners media? Come on, please. The coach says he's got a comparison for Elijah Mitchell. I'm gonna have to see it. He said Eddie George. Now, I haven't watched a lot of Eddie George. I've watched a little bit, but I guess I could see it. The big shoulder pads, runs kind of upright, falling forward. Yeah, I guess I could see it. I remember Eddie George being a much larger human being. I don't know. I would have to go back and watch it. Eddie George. You're going a little past my era there, coach. I've watched a lot of football before my time to try and catch up, but Eddie George is not a path I've explored yet. Yet. Now I'm gonna explore the Eddie George path probably tonight. Patrick Garcia says, "Yo, Vish, been a fan since Mondays with Vish, and happy you're growing your own channel, brother." I'm happy to be doing this too. It's so fun to be back on YouTube. I love being on here talking Niners with all of you. But I do think I'm gonna call the stream right here, guys. Please like, share, subscribe as always. I got the subscribe right there. Um, as always, comment down below, what are your thoughts on the tipping of the plays? What are your thoughts on my theory on the 49ers offense? Is it valid? Am I just, thinking crazy thoughts and need to, maybe settle down? Let me know what's going on with that. And I'll be back. Oh, wait. We got 103 people in here. So tomorrow I'll actually have a very special show. So I did want to mention that. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing a film breakdown on my channel. I'm going to be having Jaquaski Tart come back on, and we're going to be breaking down some plays for you. I haven't really decided how it's going to go, all of that. I don't know what we're going to break down. I know there will be some Niners plays in there because that's all I've watched so far this week. We'll see what I get to tonight and tomorrow, and maybe there'll be a few plays from other teams. But that's something special to look forward to. So, yeah, tomorrow I'll post on my YouTube community. So make sure you see for the time. But yes, Jaquaski Tart and I will be breaking down 49ers film and some other film of some other teams on this channel right here. It's can't miss. I can't wait. I'm really interested to hear his perspective. I've heard his perspective on other things. He's really, really smart. He's obviously an ex-player, so he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. And this is where what I said earlier about Trent Williams, about guys just knowing tendencies, the kind of routes people run, the way things happen out of condensed formations against certain fronts, against, certain coverages based on splits, all of these kinds of things. I think we're going to get an opportunity to see that from somebody who's so smart and so knowledgeable, and it's going to be very helpful. I'm looking very much forward to it. I hope to see you all there, but you guys got to get the likes up on this video. Otherwise, I might just choose to do the stream private so that I can have the learning session for myself. No, I'm joking. But anyway, please do like, and I'll see you all tomorrow. I hope to see you all. It's going to be an awesome show, and I'm looking very much forward to it.